There's a common scenario when people are working hard to build a strength training habit. And it's that they can find themselves a good few months into it, but still not really enjoying it. Keep listening if that's you. And if you're just starting, keep listening as well, because there's a good chance it will be you further down the line. I see this often, and it's one thing that hasn't got a lot to do with consistency. In fact, the people who haven't managed consistency don't even get as far as asking themselves this question because they've bailed and they've gone back to the sofa with a box of popcorn to watch Love Island. But what if you are showing up and getting your reps in, and that voice in your head just keeps going, oh, but this is just such a chore. Okay, listen up. I never said you had to love strength training. It's great when you do, and I hope you do, but you don't need to love it. There is a strange belief floating around that if something is good for us, we should eventually enjoy it, and if we don't, that something's gone wrong. But there's this whole middle ground that never gets talked about. Neutrality, something being useful, something being functional. That's where a lot of adult life actually lives, doesn't it? If you think about it, you don't love it, you don't hate it, you just respect what it's doing for you and you get on with it. That's not failure, that's maturity. Not everything that protects your future is enjoyable. Some shit's just gotta be done. I mean, if you think about the actual process of picking up a heavy weight and putting it down again and repeating it, yes, it doesn't stimulate the senses in the same way as perhaps a triathlon or a game of squash. It is deliberately simple, and simplicity may not always feel rewarding in the moment. But the same can be said for running when you start out, or doing lengths of a pool. And eventually people take to these activities for other reasons. They may get hooked on the feelings that they evoke, whether that's a runner's high or the kind of weightlessness that you get in a pool, or the feeling from a round of golf, which, in my mind could just spoil a good walk. But those activities tend to touch on other senses, and it's those feelings of positivity that keep people coming back. And this is where perhaps a bit of honesty with yourself really matters about what's niggling. If you need novelty, name it. You could move sideways for a while. You could change the format. You could shorten the session. You can alter the focus. All of that is fine. But if you're really trying to find a respectable way out of this, you're probably going to need to call that out as well, because they're two very different things, and pretending they're the same is what's going to keep you stuck. I do remind people that when it comes to training, you have to remember why you started. Strength training is an investment in your future. And we don't tend to interrogate other activities that we spend our time on for our future with quite the same rigour. We just take them as part of the necessities of adult life. I mean, you stop arguing about brushing your teeth when you're a young child, mainly because the habit loop takes over. But the next step in that ladder is getting yourself to the dentist, because that comes at the intersection of adulthood, and it's something you have to make a choice about. And okay, by comparison, these activities don't take a lot of time, but if you're a self-respecting adult, you don't tend to debate them internally because they're necessary, whether you enjoy them or not. But if it's the time that's niggling at you, then let's give that a little bit of perspective too. A good comparison here is work. It's your job. And in all honesty, I would say committing to strength training on a regular basis is probably more comparable to your job than it is to looking after your teeth. By the time the average woman reaches her early 60s, she'll have spent about 70,000 hours in work. Probably about 20 years of her life asleep, decades raising children or caring for people, often without any pause or recognition for that. And by comparison, 2 45-minute strength sessions twice a week for the next 10 years is about 780 hours. So about a month of your life. That's the investment we're talking about here, just to preserve a level of physical conditioning and independence for future you. One other thing you can do, if you're feeling brave, is have a look at your screen time or tot up the amount of time you spent watching box sets or films in the last month. And there is nothing wrong with these things. My numbers will probably look quite comparable to yours, They are a non-negotiable for me. They are the antidote to a lot of the stuff that taxes my brain throughout the week. But they're not an investment in my future in the same way, really. So it's more of a perspective shift rather than any morality test here. Another thing that can trip people up is the idea that strength training should always feel like progress, and it won't. It's not meant to. You're not supposed to be pushing new limits forever. That's not realistic for real lives and families and stress and seasons and all of that. Sometimes training is about progress. Sometimes it's about maintenance. Sometimes it's about simply not going backwards, and all of that still counts. I mean, if the alternative is that you would do nothing, then doing something counts even more, even if it feels a bit flat, even if it's just going through the motions for a while. So when that inner toddler in your mind starts arguing that it wants to sit down and not squat, ask yourself, are you someone who negotiates with toddlers? Or if that voice is really loud, are you someone who negotiates with terrorists? And while I'm on the topic of negotiations, this deserves a little bit of the spotlight as well. No one lives their life by a rigid set of rules. There will be times when you have to cut yourself a little bit of slack. Move training, pause training, work around a problem because something bigger needs your attention. And yes, you are a sensible adult, and it's okay to say to yourself, okay, love, what is really going on here? What is the best I can do right now? Maybe it'll just be 10 minutes. Maybe I'm going to go through the motions. Other things in life need my attention. You can choose that like an adult and flex where you can. It's fine. You don't need to debate it. You don't need any self-recrimination. I mean, what would you say to the toddler who was having a meltdown because playgroup had been cancelled? You'll say, look, there'll be another one very soon. So this isn't about optimization or becoming a different version of yourself or chasing some idealized standard. It's about deciding who you are now and what kind of future you are protecting. Because you know why you're training. You're not chasing perfection. You're not comparing yourself to somebody else's edited highlights of their life. You're choosing consistency over shortcuts because that's what works. It's not about willpower. It's about deciding whether you're someone who protects their future self, or are you somebody who just hopes it's going to sort itself out? No one can do this work for you, and nobody said it would be easy. But when is anything that's truly worthwhile easy? It isn't. If it was, everyone would be doing it, and they're not. But you are, and you've chosen to do it, and it's worth it.